talk a little bit about the origins of life. The early Earth was very different from the Earth today. It began, we think, a little bit over 4.5 billion years ago, and it formed from the accumulation of debris circling around the early sun. As these materials collapsed in upon themselves due to gravitational pull, they started to heat up, and they reached the point at which the whole mass melted. At that point, the heavier materials went to the interior, the lighter materials came to the outside. The solid light materials were to become the crust of the Earth where we live today. A lot of other materials, gases, water vapor, and so forth, came out of the interior to form the Earth's early atmosphere. It also was much different from today. For one thing, there was no oxygen. There also were a lot of poisonous materials like cyanide gas and methane in that early atmosphere. As the rains fell on the Earth and immediately evaporated back up, as lightning crashed through the atmosphere, as cosmic rays came in from the sun, a lot of things started to happen. And the earliest kinds of things were the formation of organic molecules. This is what we call the abiotic synthesis period in the formation of life. Abiotic means without life. Synthesis means to manufacture something or put something together. And what was being put together were the early building blocks of life: amino acids, fatty acids, a lot of the kinds of things that we study today as making up parts of cells and parts of molecules that we use in living things. But these were not alive. They actually kind of accumulated and formed what has oftentimes been referred to as primordial soup, like a nutrient broth that would be covering most of the surface of the Earth. The next step, as the Earth cooled down, would be what we call the polymerization phase. A polymer is a chain of molecules. Polymerization refers to the fact that these smaller molecules that were produced in the abiotic synthesis phase would now form into chains and larger structures. This would be enabled simply because the Earth is a cooler place, and whenever these started to polymerize, it would not be broken apart, as would have happened earlier in the cycle of the Earth's formation. Once we have polymerization and the formation of chains of smaller molecules, we reach the point in which some of these molecules, very, very rare event, would become self-replicating. That is, that they would be able to produce copies of themselves. This is an essential event to happen before life could occur, because our inheritance, our genes, our genetics, are passed through self-replicating molecules such as DNA today. These self-replicating molecules would have produced themselves in this primordial soup produced by these materials, and would have eventually been encapsulated in packaging materials, like some of those phospholipids that were being produced out there during the polymerization phase. This packaging allows isolation of the inheritance material from the outside world, and this is something that we see common in life today. Bacterial cells have DNA in long circular forms that are packed inside the membrane of the bacterium. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus that is also a double membrane enclosing the inheritance material, but then it has other kinds of processes packaged up in structures we call organelles. So packaging is a really important phenomenon for the survival of life once we get past the self-replicating molecules. With the formation of organic molecules, their chaining in polymerization, the formation of some of these that were capable of self-replicating, and finally packaging these away so that their processes could occur separate from the processes going on outside these very early living organisms, allowed the formation of early life. Once we get to this point, then we can rely upon natural selection the usual process that we think about for evolution to occur, to push these to more and more complex and more efficient kinds of organisms. And we'll talk about that more as we look at the evolution of life in the different forms, plants, animals, bacteria, fungi, and so forth.